Hi, I'm here with Andrew Walker, and this is the opening of the Louise Nevelson sculpture. Not only sculpture, but she has prints, lithographs, just basically everything from her earliest 1950 sculpture all the way up to late ones. This one, we're sitting in a zigzag wall from 69 to 74 on loan from Crystal Bridges. And as you can see, it's an amazing piece. I'm just this huge fan of Nevelson, and when you told me there was a show that was going to be here, I said, invite me. He did. I came. Tell us a little bit of what it took to get this kind of, monumental work in one place.
And thank you for coming. Really
Yes.
appreciate it. This is an important show for us because for a couple of different reasons. One is Louise Nevelson has had a kind of history here. We've been collecting her from early on in the 60s, I should say, as well as having both sets of her lithographic and works on paper work, some of which is more innovative in its almost collage techniques that she did while a resident at the Tamarind Press, 2 stays that she had in the 1960s there. So we've had this notion of her as an important figure that maybe for the latter part of our history or a later part of our history off of our Western tradition, she represents a kind of depth of holding that we have. So of course you can come here and do Remington and Russell in great depth, but you can also come here and do Nevelson at great depth. Yes. So the curator who managed this exhibition, built it, did the research, made the loans, her name is Shirley Reese-Hughes. What she wanted to do, which is a tradition that's happened here at the Carter over time, which is sometimes we don't always do the big retrospective. This is a real look at her work at Midcentury, which is arguably the center cut of her work. And it takes as its jumping off point a work that we have that was acquired in the 80s called Lunar Landscape. And it's a collage work from the 1960s our collage work is kind of simplistic, isn't it?
It is when you talk about these. They may look simplistic, but they are not.
They are not. And actually what the curator did this, as I learned the other day, is that if you look at this modularly, this is a series of sculptures that are individualized that are then combined into a larger experience that in today's lexicon, Nevelson was doing relatively innovatively and early the idea of an experience through the work. So you could come and see the work, and she did small-scale work that is more, domestic, I guess you would say, in scale. But these are meant to kind of not overwhelm is the wrong word, but to bring you into a space. Yeah,
they do.
And creates a different kind of experience that might jostle you out of the notion of the reality in which you stand in normally. But the interesting thing is each piece, and this really, they come together as almost like not a puzzle because it's clear where they go, but they're conjoined to create this larger experience. And that what I find fascinating with her work is, she was dumpster diving before it was popular.
Right.
But the way that she puts them together and then creates a chromatic unity, I guess, and oftentimes in black. Sometimes if you come to visit the show, you'll see in white or in gold. She creates this kind of harmony through what is otherwise, I think it's fair to say, junk, right?
Well, to me, nothing's junk if it still has purpose.
Well, that's the point.
So,
and she was purposeful when she would gather material in the streets of New York largely, or wherever else she would be doing that work. What's interesting about this piece is it comes from that period of time when she was also experimenting with her paper work, her two-dimensional work, which, again, if you come into this space, you'll see a proliferation of that work. Really, I don't want to say for the first time, but for the first time where there's an intentional dialogue about her process and her making. So you really get this sense of influence that's not only innovative for her within the media, but across media. So if you look at this work and then you'd be able to see the lithographs that are here from a relatively simultaneous period, you can see that narrative or that dialogue or that whatever you want to call it for artistic process happening across different forms.
Yeah, different forms of media. And I think one of the things really, again, come see this show if you can, because of the immensity of these sculptures. It's very difficult to bring all these sculptures together. It's not an easy thing. First of all, just getting people to loan it, museums to loan it, but to have it where you are engrossed in it, especially the lunar part, which is in a kind of a black light. I won't blow it for you because you need to come and see it. It's
pretty great.
Yeah, it's almost interactive in a weird way.
And it, what I learned yesterday during the sort of preview of the show for the press here was that they actually had to do a wash light in there because it was so dark. Mm-hmm. In today's experience, when you anticipate perhaps not, if not huge crowds, significant crowds that you want to make sure people are safe in those spaces, which might have been very different for her in the time when that notion of experience superseded any sense of audience pleasure.
That was done in 1958, right?
Exactly.
So January 4th, I believe, of 1958. So that was just unheard of what she was doing, and you've recreated that experience today.
Really, for the first time since those moments. So it's really worth it, in my opinion, just for that.
I agree.
But there's a lot more to see.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Mark, thanks for being here.
Yes, and this show will be up through January.
Through the end of the first week of January.
In 2024.